Rabbi Boxed back with my podcast for this week. Um, in Ocala, Florida. This is an interesting week for me. For starters, all my house is full. My daughter from college is back with us for a week, so I get to hear things from the perspective of someone who's 19 years old and in college, which certainly adds dimensions to my own ideas and my own thoughts. But what I've learned, or what I've really began to think about this week, is something that happened when we were together in a group of people, and uh, my daughter was giving her opinion about something, and one of the people that was in the room asked her how old she was, and she said her age, and the other person said, "Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I understood who I was talking to," and I kind of felt like there was an indication that my daughter doesn't, she's not old enough, or she's not an adult or whatever, and I took kind of offense to that because although I will say that I don't always listen to my daughter's advice, I probably should do that a lot more. But when someone else sort of implied that she was an adult, and her own response was, I mean, I am an adult, kind of. I'm a semi-adult, and I really was taken aback by that because she's not a semi-adult. She is 19 years old and she's in college, and yeah, there's things about her life that are different from quote unquote normal adults. Meaning she doesn't have to pay bills and this and that, but she lives on her own. She makes her own decisions, and she makes the decisions to go to school, to go to classes, to have a straight A, pretty much a straight A GPA. It's so she does make her own decisions, and actually her generation is who will eventually be taking over in this world. And so there needs to be a lot of respect and time and thought given to listening to the younger generation that's out there, generations that are out there. But it brings to mind another thought, which is there are a lot of my colleagues and friends out in the world that are much more vocal on social media, or in general, I should say, about certain issues. And I don't want to get into it on this podcast because it's just my opinion, and I don't want to feel. I want people to listen to my podcast, not to feel like I'm, pushing in one direction. But I think that everybody knows where I stand politically, without even me having to say it. But that's not the point. The point is that people have this idea in their head that they are right, and that the other a person disagrees with them, a person who thinks differently from them is wrong. And that's not okay. We are allowed, we are required, we are encouraged to have different ideas and different perspectives and different opinions. As a matter of fact, in Judaism, we are commanded, and it's celebrated when we question God, when we ask questions. If something doesn't make sense in the world, when we ask questions about it in order to A, understand it, or B, make the world a better place. It's so important to honor that dialogue, but unfortunately, I believe in today's society, in the world today, I should say, people don't listen to the other side, or people don't listen to other ideas. Forget sides. If your idea is not someone else's idea, then their idea is wrong. That's what people think, and that's the way that people act, and that's just, it's plain, it's wrong, and it's dangerous in our world. Um, I believe a lot of decisions are being made from a governmental standpoint, state governments, national governments, international governments, that are questionable, uh, And we have a right as human beings, as free human beings, we have a right to question, um, as long as we're doing it in a way that is not detrimental to the conversation. Um, I don't want to. Again, I don't want to alienate anybody who listens to my podcast. But the truth be told is, it's getting harder and harder to hold my thoughts, hold my opinions back, because I really do feel there is a shift in our country right now away from what it could be, which would be progress, to, in a way, stepping back. We're, in a way, regressing, and it's under the guise of progress, but it really isn't progress, and it's hard to convince people who don't agree with you when you're right. Um, and ultimately, if we disagree, that's okay. But as long as we come to some agreement in what is right and what is wrong, and facts are facts, opinions are opinions, everybody has them. But facts are facts. And when the facts on the ground indicate an idea that is against your own ideas or your own values, well, you have to consider then what your values and ideas are. And by the way, this has been true in our country for as long as I've been alive, and I'm sure a lot longer than that. As a matter of fact, our country was founded by people who argued with the leadership of the country that they were under, or that they were a part of. And when they were putting together the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, the Constitution, when the Gettysburg Address came out later, and and so on and so forth, when all the amendments came out with the Constitution, all of these things were debated and debated and debated, but an agreement was come to, in which you didn't necessarily get everything that you wanted, but an agreement was made. Compromises were made. But there are some things that just cannot be compromised. Human dignity, freedom, the right to live a life that is safe and good for your children. These are things that are unalienable. They are inalienable. They are not in question. They're not in question, but they are. And that's the issue, is that people are coming together and discussing issues that shouldn't really be in question. And when they really are basic things and then they're still debated, it's hard to pull out a truth, because the truth is already there. And people don't necessarily see that truth, and that's a problem, and that's challenging, and that is creating a lot of tension in our country and in the world. We need to, as a country, to support our allies, not run away from them. We need to support all Americans, foreign or here and abroad. And we need to make sure that we are making decisions that are for the betterment and the moving forward of our country, as opposed to going backwards. And that's my 2 cents for this week. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and early Shabbat Shalom if you're Jewish. And I'll be back again next week. Thanks for listening.